Hello friends, welcome to my channel Learn with Ayushi. So today I brought a new lesson for you all, and this video is for class 6th children. The story is from their textbook A Pact with the Sun, and this is lesson 9, What Happened to the Reptiles. Full story is covered in one video lecture only. स्टोरी के साथ उसकी समरी भी दी हुई है, न्यू वर्ड्स एंड मीनिंग्स भी दी हुई है. सो आई थिंक इट विल बी वेरी हेल्पफुल फॉर यू ऑल. सो गो अहेड एंड लर्न फ्रॉम दिस video. The contents that I am going to cover in this video lecture will be the introduction. First, I am going to introduce you with the story, then the explanation of the story, followed by the summary of the story, then new words and meaning. New words and meanings मैंने एक जगह ही सारे लिख रखे हैं ताकि आप लोग को कोई दिक्कत नहीं हो. Clear? चलिए फिर let's start with the introduction. Introduction. This story says that each person has his own unique importance and role. People in this world often fight and create disturbance in the name of religion. A village, Pambhupati, in the story developed a new and different world. Their varied, their varied people lived together happily in perfect harmony, irrespective of any kind of differences. So the story is telling us that every person in this world or in this era has a unique importance, and everyone has a different role to play. People in this world keep on fighting and creating disturbances in the name of religion, but here in the story, a village, Pambhupati, is a very new and a different world. They're varied people. Varied people means different people lived together happily in perfect harmony. Harmony means peace, irrespective of any kind of differences. Clear to everyone? Now let's see what the story is all about. As it has said that it's a very unique, and people in this village are very different, yes, and they all live together happily. Now moving ahead, Pambhupati is a peaceful village inhabited by a variety of people. Prem, the narrator of the story, flees his village under unfortunate conditions to reach Pambhupati by chance. An old resident of the village looks after him and tells him an interesting story. Clear? So now here is an old resident of this village who tells him an interesting story. Clear? What happened to the reptiles? Now we are going to study the story. You may not believe this story, but I can tell you it is true, because I have been to Padmbhuti, a village on the edge of the jungle. It is on a cliff, and the vast forest stretches below like a mossy green carpet. There are many kinds of people in the village: dark, fair, tall, short. They speak many languages. Some eat meat, some don't. Some pray in a small temple at the edge of the forest. Others pray in a mosque some miles away. Clear? My name is Prem, and I live many hundred miles away from Pambhupati. I had heard about the village, but I'd never been there. Then last year, something terrible happened. The people of my own village went mad, far, far away in a place they have never even been to. A temple or mosque had been burnt down, and they went mad. They started fighting with one another. So now so the author of the story is told by Prem himself. So he's saying that you may not believe the story, but I can tell you it is true, because he has been to Pambupati, a village on the edge of the jungle. It is on a cliff. Cliff means a steep rock face, and in the vast forest stretches below like a mossy green carpet. It is covered with green carpet, that means green grasses. And he's saying that the village is 100 miles away, and he had heard about the village, but there were such circumstances, terrible circumstances, he must say, that the people of his own village went mad, and they started burning mosque, temple, and they started fighting with one another. So people had to run from that place, and they were running here and there, and in that way only Prem had reached to Pambhupati. Okay, Pambhupati is a village. Moving ahead. Some had to run away in the middle of the night and at 3 in the morning. As I lay in my house, half awake to the sounds of hate and violence, there was a fire. Many houses were burnt down in the fire. One of them was mine. So Prem's house was burnt down in the fire. I managed to grab a few clothes, some coins, my little Ganesh statue, and I ran. I ran for a day and a night, resting whenever my legs would not carry me any further. I jumped onto a train, then on a bus. No tickets? Never mind. Everyone seemed to be running. Finally, I found myself in Pambupati, and I saw some villagers gathered near a well. I ran to them, and before I could say a thing, I fainted. So here Prem fainted as soon as he had reached Pambupati. Let's see what happens further. When I opened my eyes, I saw an old man with white hair, white beard, and shining black eyes bending over me. For the next few days, he looked after me, putting food in my mouth and bringing me sweet, cool water from the stream. He rubbed my feet gently and made the pain go away. Neighbors, strangers, everyone came to visit me. Tell me, grandfather, I said to him one day, I have never seen people like the villagers here. In my village, people fight with those who pray to another god. But here, this seems like a very strange place. Prem, replied the old man, I will tell you the story of Pambupati. You can take this story back to your village. Maybe it will heal some of its wounds and dry some of its sores. Oh, grandfather, I said anxiously, don't say that. What I have seen in my village makes me burn with shame. I never want to go back there. Okay, so now grandfather said that I'll tell you a story about the village Pambupati, and you can go back to your village and tell the people the same story. So in that reference, Prem is saying, no, whatever I have seen in the village, after seeing that or after witnessing all of that, I will never go to my village back again. But grandfather said anxiously, don't say that. You should go back to your village and tell the people this story. Moving ahead. But that's exactly why you must go back, he said in a soft voice. I kept quiet. I didn't want to argue with him, and I wanted to hear his story. It happened a long, long time ago, he began. So long ago that there were no schools and no teachers. Children lived in caves with their parents and helped them to collect fruit and berries from the forest. At that time, there were no tigers or panthers or elephants in Pambupati forest. There were only reptiles, many kinds of reptiles. Now you know what reptiles are: snakes, crocodiles, turtles, lizards, and you know that our reptile has scales on its body and it lays eggs. Every month, the reptiles of Pambupati had a big meeting. So every month, all the reptiles of Pambupati used to have a big meeting. Everyone came, the pretty excited snakes, the slow thoughtful tortoises, the clever quick lizards, and the moody crocodiles, grumpy because they were out of water. Clear? So every time now he has started telling the story of the Pambupati and he is telling about the story of the reptiles. He's saying that everyone came for a meeting. Okay, they had a very big meeting every month, and they all used to meet. The snakes used to come, the small slow thoughtful tortoise, the clever quick lizards, and the moody crocodiles all used to meet together for a big meeting. Let's see what used to be there in the meeting. The president of these meetings was Makara, the biggest crocodile of the forest. All the animals thought he was very important. When someone is strong and powerful, you know it's difficult not to go along with what he says or does. Now, one day, a strange thing happened. It was a week before one of the monthly meetings. Makara sent a letter to the tortoises asking them not to come to the meeting. Ahiste, the big old star tortoise with black and yellow pictures on his shell, was very angry. What does this mean? He shouted. How dare they? But not one of the tortoises had the courage to attend the meeting. They were so few, the others so many. Before the meeting, the giant Makara polished his teeth with the red flowers of the tree by the river till they sparkled. Everyone was waiting for him at the meeting place. Moving ahead. Brothers and sisters, he began. All the reptiles, even the beautiful king cobras, stopped talking. Makara continued his speech. I have decided that we don't need the tortoises. I have told them not to come today. Brothers and sisters, can you tell me why we don't like the tortoise? Now let's see what he has to say. Why we don't like the tortoises? The reptiles looked this way and that. They felt very uncomfortable. The snakes hissed anxiously. The lizard wriggled their tails. The crocodiles opened their jaws even wider, wriggled to move body in small, quick movement. Now everybody looked here and there and they were very anxious that why is Makara speaking like this way? Why is he behaving like this way? And what he wants to say about the tortoise. He said that the snake started hissing and the lizard wriggled. Wriggle means to twist or turn their tails, and the crocodiles opened their jaws even wider. Clear? Moving ahead. But, said one little lizard. No buts, shouted Makara. There was silence. "I think," said a baby crocodile. "No, I think," screamed Makara so loudly that the fruit in the tree above him rained down, means fell down. After that, no one had the courage to speak. So they were so scared of Makara. Now let's see what happens further. Makara cleared his throat and showed a few more teeth. "Well," he said, "I will tell you why we don't like the tortoises. They are so slow, so stupid. They even carry their houses on their backs. Whoever heard of such a stupid thing? Now, you lizards, you live in trees. Would you ever carry a tree on your back? Would you?" Small, frightened voices answered together. "No, we would not." But no buts. Now listen. I have told the tortoises that they will have to move out of Pambupati. When they go, we will have more of everything: more food, more water, more space. I want them out by tomorrow, but because they are such slow coaches, I have given them 1 week. By next Tuesday, we won't have a single tortoise left in this jungle. And by the following Tuesday, they were all gone. At first, the animals were sad, but then they realized that what Makara had said was true. There was more food, more water, and more space for them. But soon a strange smell began to fill the forest. It was the smell of rotting fruit on the ground, rotting animals in the river. This was what the tortoise used to eat, and even Makara had to go about holding his nose with his big claws. Rotting means something which has turned to go bad. Okay, rotten means basically decay, which has decayed with time. They used to eat the food which used to go decayed, right? Decayed food the tortoises eat. Moving ahead. A month passed by and then the same thing happened all over again. But this time it was the snakes. Makara wrote them one of his letters. They were to leave the forest, and since they could move fast, they had to go in a day. Naga, the head of the snakes, pleaded for more time. Pleaded means requested, but Makara would not give in. At the meeting, he silenced the others, the lizards and crocodiles, with even louder shouts and threats. "Snakes are slimy," he said, "and they make funny noises. Who wants such weird creatures around?" Again, no one dared to disagree with Makara, and so the snakes left. For a while, the animals of the forest were happy because they had been a little afraid of the snakes. You never knew when one of them might lose his temper and spit some venom at you. And it took only a little poison to kill you after all. So venom is a poison, a poisonous substance. Clear? So that's what they are saying here. Again, no one dared to speak in front of Makara, and the snakes left. All the animals of the forest were happy because they had been a little afraid of the snakes, and they even never knew that when they might lose their temper and they might spit some poison on any one of them, and it took only a little poison to kill the animal. So they were also a bit happy. Moving ahead. A few weeks passed and the animals of the forest looked tired, and fed up. The rats, now that there were no snakes to eat them, the rats had taken over the forest and they were having a wonderful time. They were everywhere on the trees, in the grass, in the bushes, on the ground. They ate up the eggs of the lizards and crocodiles. There would be no babies that year. Makara's own nest of eggs had been chewed up. Then Makara had a great idea. He called a meeting of the crocodiles and said, "Wouldn't it be wonderful if we, the crocodiles, could have the whole jungle for ourselves? No one but us. These lizards, now just look at them. They have the strangest habits, and some of them even change color. How can we trust someone who is green one minute, red the next? Let's get rid of them." By now, the crocodiles were really scared of Makara. So they clapped and cheered. Makara was pleased. The lizards left the forest, some with their babies on their backs. Now let's see. Now earlier who had gone? First the tortoise had gone, then the snakes had gone. Now even the lizards were going. Now let's see what happens further. But now when life should have been wonderful for the crocodiles of Pambupati, all kinds of awful things began to happen. To begin with, the rats grew bolder by the day. They became so fearless that they jumped and turned some somersaults on the crocodiles' backs. And there were too many frogs. They seemed to be growing larger and there was no one to eat them. But the crocodiles, these huge frogs, began to eat the baby crocodiles and the insects. Now that the lizards were gone, there were millions of them growing bigger and nastier by the day. It was a terrible time for the crocodiles. They could not understand what had happened to their happy forest home. Then one day, a squeaky little voice piped up at one of their meetings. "We know why the forest has gone crazy, don't we?" Now let's see what the insect has to say. Suddenly, everyone was silent. They looked at Makara fearfully, but to their surprise, he looked nervous. He shook a rat off his tail and asked the small crocodile, "Why, little fellow?" It all began with the tortoise, with the tort. "Okay, okay," said Makara. "There's no need to talk so much." Makara did not want to admit he was wrong, but it did not matter. All the crocodiles knew now that he was not all that strong or powerful or always right. They sent urgent messages all over the place for the tortoises, snakes, and lizards to come back to Pambupati. And what a great day it was when these creatures came back. Family after family with their little ones on their back or straggling behind, shouting at their parents to wait for them. Okay, so now when they saw such a pathetic condition of the forest, they again called all the animals back. They called the tortoise, snakes, lizards all back, and family after family with their little ones on their back or straggling behind. The word straggling means grow or spread behind, means they were coming together, they were spreading behind, shouting at their parents to wait for them. Let's read further. In 2 months, the forest was back to normal. The rats disappeared, and the insects, and the smell, and the world finally went back to its familiar old self. Well, Prem, said the old man, have you fallen asleep? Did my story send you off to dreamland? I shook my head. No, grandfather, I was just thinking maybe it's time I went back to my own village because I have a story to tell them. But what if they don't listen to me? We can only keep at it, my son. Tell these stories again and again to more and more people. Some of them may laugh at you or say your stories are not true, but they may remember them one day and understand that each one of us has a place in this strange, funny world of ours. So he said that you should go back to your village and tell people story. In case if they are not ready to listen to you, then what you can do, you can tell other people, you can keep on spreading your message, and one or the other day they will understand and they will realize that everybody has their own importance, everybody has their own way of living in this world. And that's what they have said at the end. Some of them may laugh at you or say your stories are not true, but they may remember them one day and understand that each of us has a place in this strange, funny world of ours. That's about the story. Now we'll quickly go to the keywords and their meaning. Okay, first summary of the story. This lesson is a story of religious harmony depicted through reptiles who lived in the village of Pambhupati and retold by an old man to a boy named Prem who suffered religious riots in his village and while running to save his life reached Pambhupati. Prem, the narrator of the story, was so scared of the riot incident that he was not willing to go back to the place. An old man shared the story of Pambhupati to change his mind. Pambhupati was the land ruled and lived by reptiles alone. Makara, the crocodile who ruled the forest, he was the most powerful amongst all and was the biggest in size. One day Makara held a meeting of the reptiles, misusing his power, told the tortoise to leave the forest. They were stupid and slow. After a few months, he repeated the same order for snakes to leave the forest. Gradually, he told every animal to leave the forest except crocodiles. No one could ever dare to go against his order and question him. After some time, all the animals left. Okay, moving ahead. Consequently, very weird things started happening in the forest. The forest was full of foul smell. Foul means bad, and the rats and insects started coming out. Seeing the plight of the jungle, other crocodiles made a decision to call back all the animals of the forest. All the animals came back and the forest was back to normal again. Clear? So this is the story all about. Moving ahead. Hearing this, Prem changed his mind and thought of going back to his village and sharing all this with his people to help them have a better perspective of living together in harmony and to understand the unique role of each person in the society. Clear to everyone? Moving ahead. New words and their meaning. Cliff, a pointed high end of a rock. Next, grab, to hold, to catch. Giant, very big. Slimy, unpleasant. Venom, poison. Somersaults, physical exercise, movement. Nastier, unclean. Squeaky, making a very high sound. Straggling, to move and spread in a very shabby manner.
I hope you people have understood the story. So please kindly don't forget to like, share and subscribe to my channel. Please press on any of the icon which is there on your screen just below my video. Subscribe, bell icon, like, share and comment. Thank you. Thank you. Have a nice day.